When I plan my attack, when I plan my attack, I doubt that you're ready. Rhymes like bullets penetrate your zone. One time on the MIC. When I plan my attack, I doubt that you're ready. Rhymes like bullets penetrate your zone. On the MIC.
Yeah. White on the track again, PPL is back again, coming for the Patty's twins, cause she the champion. It's the Pantheon Cup we all battle for. When rivals get to scrapping, it's a savage war. This is what we waited for. Finally, y'all, the time is here. Fantasy is back. My favorite fucking time of year. Light your bloods a tie now. PPL is live now. The show where shit gets real, dog. We're all after the pie now. Gino in the jet, he hosts the show, uploading videos. He does it all from A to Z. You like the league to pay the fee or win it all and play for free. Play to be the best or lazy. It's a league of competition. Still the crown, that's the mission. Dog, it's time to get it cracking, plan your moves and start attacking. PPL is back in action, teams get mad, you know what happens. Hate each other, play with passion, build a team with trades and drafting. I think I done said my part, it's time for PPL to start.
When I plan my attack, when I plan my attack, I doubt that you're ready. Rhymes like bullets penetrate your zone.
It is time. Wild card weekend is upon us. It is time for the PPL playoffs. It has all been settled. The dust has settled. We have our final 6 teams. Gino the Gent here with Ulysses as Hate. It's time to get into PPL Live. What do you think about this, Ulysses? Wild card weekend, our first ever in PPL history.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think we have a slate of really competitive matchups after surprising Week 14 performances.
Right.
And again, I'm excited for playoff football.
Yeah, I am too, man. But before we do that, obviously we got to jump into Week 14 and get our scores. Starting with the Argonauts, leaving no doubt and ending the regular season on the Imperial throne, 178 to ATG's 135. Only for the boss clinches the playoff spot in clutch fashion, avenging last year's Pantheon Cup defeat to Patty's Twins. Only for the boss ends in the playoffs, 123 to 93 for Patty's Twins. The Skulls in the season on the winner's circle, 139 to squad underestimated's 124. The Mean Machine, dearly departed, ends the season, ending the Gav season, 144 to 131. And the United Players, the Destroyers, have a huge win. Hopefully they can carry it over to the playoffs for them. 153 to 90 against the Baby Gas team. All right, man. Those scores obviously have set us up for Wild Card Weekend. But before we get into that, we're going to give a little recap of the regular season. 14 weeks of fun PPL football. A lot of finality in this season. A lot of great things happening, man. But before we do that, let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly of the 2021 PPL season, man. Let's start with this one. What do you think?
I mean, my good for the season, I mean, it has to reside with the Argonauts. I mean, especially with how they ended Week 14. I mean, if the team's heading into a bye, this one clearly was not going in, taking any gas off the pedal, leaving no doubt.
Right.
I mean, when you see what this team did, I mean, they've, again, won in Alpha, won in the Imperial Throne, undefeated in Alpha. They've done this several times. They've just really gone unchecked the last several seasons. You see what they've done in the trading arena. Again, a guy like Dalvin who started to wake up, especially at the right time for the Argonauts.
Right.
For me, I just really don't think any team could have claimed a better season, regular season. And the only team they lost to, Patty's Twins, again, sitting on the very opposite side of the bracket. So the only way that they face a team that they haven't beat is in a Pantheon Cup final.
Okay.
So, again, it's got to be feeling good for the Argo. Again, I got to give it to them because, they've found themselves here a lot in the past. This particular roster, I wasn't as high on early on in the season. I mean, you heard it in my commentary, but hey, they put it together week in, week out. Again, find themselves 13-1. Bye week, I mean, it's been a great season for the Argo.
Right, and definitely a great year. Their third one-loss season in league history, ridiculous stat. and obviously have set a new mark for wins in the regular season with 13 for the PPL. The only way you could have more is to go undefeated in the PPL regular season. So yes, it was a good season for the Argo. Give me your bad, man.
Bad Skulls. I mean, we've
Yeah.
gassed the Skulls quite a bit because I think we had such high ambitions for this team.
Yeah.
We know that ownership had really kind of positioned them well with trades in the past few years. Really, I think even looking back now, you look at this team. Josh Allen was drafted.
Okay.
Chase was drafted.
Right.
I mean, this guy really went out there and found good talent. It's unfortunate because, again, he won on a resounding kind of note, again, against another playoff-bound team. It's just unfortunate that this team really just couldn't really find a groove.
Yeah.
I mean, they went for what I think like 5-6 games in a row they lost. Like
Okay.
they were just in a rut. And you can't really go through those and really expect to win the playoffs. Again, to me, it was just a bad year for the Skulls. I think when you look at this roster, you scratch your head on how they ended up in this position and are really, I think, the best team that didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely got a roster that some teams probably are relieved they don't have to see in the coming weeks, man. And what's your ugly?
Man, ugly for me is Mean Machine. I mean, you can't really get any uglier than what this team did. I mean, started with the trade in the offseason where they really just showed that they weren't competitive.
Right.
Some questionable lineup moves all throughout the season. Like, this team just really never seemed like they were interested. And then all of a sudden, they're out and they're messing around on the waiver. I don't understand it, but I could tell you that the seeds of the Mean Machine's PPL exit were sown very early on this season.
Okay.
And frankly, I mean, again, it was just a move that brought disgrace to them, brought disgrace to anybody that was messing with that kind of stuff.
Right.
It just really isn't in line with what this is all about: prestige, making quality decisions, and being competitive. This team used to be that. They at one time won a Pantheon Cup.
Right.
Again, now they're not even in the league. So, I mean, for me, it can't get any uglier to really fall from grace the way the Mean Machine has done. They've done a lot of questionable things as a franchise in the past, have gotten a lot of wrist slaps.
Yeah.
But again, conduct this season was just unbecoming. It was just ugly, and it's sad to see somebody who at one time was really a competitive fixture in the PPL go, and especially under these circumstances,
right.
To be forgotten.
Right, to be forgotten. All right, man. My good is got to be the United play as the Destroyers, man. They had an impressive regular season. Even in some of their losses, they had very, very high-scoring efforts. And it was all led by a great play from Derrick Henry early on in the season. And obviously, once Derrick went down, they still were able to supplement production thanks to great drafting early on. Getting Michael Williams for the Chargers. Cooper Kupp was clutch for them all season long. Chris Godwin was a great later round draft pick. And Sony Michel was a clutch late season free agency addition. The United players are on their way, I think. They have a very, very good chance this week of keeping it up. They have a strong team top to bottom. And they did it even when we doubted them. At one time, I thought they were going to drop out of the playoffs after that Henry injury. And Tom Brady was struggling. Tom Brady's rebounded. And it's really fueled their team. Gronkowski's back in the lineup. They were able to survive injuries. And, I mean, they did what the Skulls couldn't. And that's why they're my good for the season. My bad, obviously, is going to be the Skulls. It speaks for itself. I'm not going to kick a dead horse here with the Skulls. They've got a lot of potential. It's just little decisions that they've got to make that I felt like they made at the end of the season last week. They made great decisions in that last week, and they got the win. They just got to find a way to do that consistently if they can. I think they will be a fixture in the PPL playoffs. And my ugly is a team that consistently has been a fixture in the PPL playoffs, and I'm going with the Gaff. And the reason why their season is ugly is because they're out here accepting challenges. They're talking about how they're going to finish. They're talking about how this playoff field is weak and let them back in. And what they do. They had 2 matchups to get into the playoffs, and they wet the bed in both matchups. After sweeping through the Alpha Conference earlier on, it was 2 Alpha teams that were actually their demise. And some of it was their own doing. I mean, in their matchup with the Argonauts, you need to probably go D-Hop there. They only lost that matchup by like 10 points. It was a nail biter for them, and it really was probably what cost them their season. That one against the Mean Machine, though, was I think they got a little arrogant. They got a little cute because of the Machine's struggles all season. Obviously, you've put them as ugly. They're no longer in the league for shenanigans and things that just added up over time. But they got the gaff because the gaff got arrogant. I mean, why don't you go with a coach there? You leave a slot open, and you lose a shot at the PPL playoffs. So an ugly season for the gaff. A team that could have easily gotten in. A team that had a lot of bravado and just came up empty. So that's my ugly on the season. That being said, let's move on. It's time to well, no, not really even move on. We've got to get one more thing in, man. Obviously, with the regular season closing, we've got to get the regular season MVPs for each, of us. What do you think, Ulysses? Who is your regular season MVP in the PPL?
Well, I mean, it ties right into who you mentioned as your good. United players were led all season by Tom Brady.
Right.
I think, again, I don't think he's just the PPL MVP. I think he's going to end up getting
the league MVP
for the regular season. I think just as the quarterback position goes, he's just been solid. I mean, when you look again, completion percentage, touchdown to INT ratio.
Right.
I mean, he is getting done. This team has shown that they're high scoring. What takes it over the top for the UP though is, again, he's got Gronk and Godwin there. So I mean, almost on
it fuels his whole team.
He's double dipping.
Yeah.
So it really puts him in a solid position. And again, I've got to say that he for me was the PPL MVP. Really carried the UP into this playoff.
My league MVP is going to be a guy we didn't even get to see play last week, and the team lost, and that's Jonathan Taylor. I mean, the Twins started the season slow, as Jonathan did, and as he ramped up, they ramped up, and they ramped themselves up to an Omega Conference title. Omega was a gunfight all year. I mean, it was the Royal Rumble basically. Every man for himself. People were getting just thrown out here and there, everywhere, and it was just one of those things that it was ridiculous to watch. On the other end of it, Jonathan just carried the Twins week in and week out. No matter who was playing quarterback, no matter who was playing receiver, they found a way to get it done. He leads the league in scoring, the number one running back. I always feel like that's the MVP in the PPL, who is the top RB, and has definitely carried the Twins to a top 2 first-round bye and a potential Pantheon Cup title. And this guy was a Pantheon Cup MVP last year, man. So hats off to Jonathan Taylor. That being said, man, hey, let's get into this. Let's look at these playoff brackets, and let's jump into our first playoff matchup of Wild Card Weekend. We're going to start with our true wild card, one of the few losing teams to make the PPL playoffs, but hey, they're in, limping in, got all the help that they needed. 6-8, Squad Underestimated, taking on the United Play as the Destroyers. My good for the regular season as the number 3 seed. The United Play as the Destroyers obviously have been to 2 Pantheon Cups before. They have had success in the playoffs. They know what it's like. The Squad Underestimated obviously has also been to a Pantheon Cup. Their 1 Pantheon Cup appearance was in Pantheon Cup 10. What do you think of this matchup, man? 2 teams vying to get back to the Pantheon Cup. Both have been there in the past few seasons. Squad Underestimated, United Play as the Destroyers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to this matchup. I mean, when you look at what these teams did when they played a few weeks back, Squad got it in a close one, which was, again, a down scoring league. The UP, for most of the season, led in points scored. And when I look at the matchup this week, it's a really tough one to call. I mean, Kyler, I would say, against Detroit should ball out. I'm not sure where his health is.
Right.
Alvin showed us that he's the guy. I think Gordon should have a day. That Dallas offense, I'm not sure where that's at. Jalen Waddle, I think Miami's going to have a field day. Kyle Pitts, I mean, as good as he is, you did not keep the number 1 player at that position. I can tell you ATG is going to be keeping Mark Andrews. So,
okay.
I mean, you didn't really get value for that pick. Marquise, I'm not sure how that looks if Lamar's not in the lineup.
Right.
Bill should handle Carolina. Nick Folk, Dolphins should win. I'm looking at this. It's solid everywhere. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, I've got some question marks, but nothing's jumping out at me as like, I wouldn't go there.
Okay.
The other side, the UP has so many eggs in just a few baskets, if you will.
Right.
They've got 4 Tampa Bay guys in the lineup: Brady, Gronk, Godwin,
The
Bucks,
D. Yeah.
When Tampa Bay played New Orleans last time, it was fairly competitive. I'm not really sure how that game's going to go, but I really don't see Tampa Bay and company struggling the same way that they did. This team is really a different team statistically, offensively, especially when they play on the road versus at home. This is a home game, primetime game, playoff time. I think Tom and company are going to be in form. I think really they show out. New Orleans, again, Taysom Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I just don't know what he's going to be able to bring. They scored a lot last week, but we'll see. Alvin Kamara's on the other side. Devin Singletary should factor. I mean, in a Buffalo game that I think they run the ball a lot to get out.
Yeah, Allen's having knee ankle issues, I believe.
I mean, exactly. So, he's got Sonny Michel, Cooper Kupp, the number 1 wideout, I believe, still.
Yeah.
Mike Williams has been vying for that all season.
Yeah.
They look at Chiefs coach, and lots of people will remember that when the Chiefs first played the Chargers. I mean, that was an exposure. Herbert showed out. The Chiefs lost that game.
Mm-hmm.
And it really led to a lot of question marks about the Chiefs. Chiefs are looking as a resurgent team right now. I think that they get right here.
Okay.
And I think that when I look at this game, just top to bottom matchups and what the projections are, interestingly enough, your squad's projection 121,
mm-hmm.
their averages 121.
Okay.
So I just look at this like this team plays as they are projected.
Okay.
When I look at UP, their averages are much higher than their projection, which to me says, this team has some tough matchups, but they absolutely have the scoring potential to outpace squad. And I think that they get it done this week.
Okay.
Behind, again, solid performances by solid players, and nothing knocking the squad this week. I just think that they finally hit that one excuse that they're not going to be able to overcome a team that can just score from everywhere.
Right. They've lost 3 straight into this one, man.
They've lost 3 straight in. I don't think really that they've really put their best foot forward in. I mean, again, they're a gaff win away from watching here.
Okay.
And so, especially in a game that you're going to be, this is the dress rehearsal for playing the champs. And so you can't stumble here. And I don't think the UP does. I've got them winning this matchup, I'm going to say comfortably, 136 to squad's 119.
Man, this is a good one. And it's going to be actually tough. I think the projections may have a point, man. And I think squad has a very, very good chance of stealing this matchup. But I do believe in the end that the United players are going to be able to get it done behind Tom Brady and his connection with Rob Gronkowski and Chris Godwin against the New Orleans Saints, a team that they lost to, who they're going to get at home on Sunday night. They're going to probably want to have a big game. And this is going to be an opportunity for Tom to showcase for that league MVP in front of all the writers across America. So it may be a big, big game for the United players. I'm looking at Sony Michel. I think that even if Henderson comes back, Michel's carved his self a place in that offense. And if the Rams do get ahead, look out for Michel and Kupp to eat up that clock, because even in third and short situations, they're still throwing the Kupp, even if they're up by 10, 15 points. It's going to really turn early in this matchup. I think we do get a high-scoring game. I think Mike Williams is not going to be easily covered, and I think he's going to be able to put up big numbers against KC, but the Chiefs do find a way to win that matchup, spurring the UP on forward. I think Kyler gets a good matchup against Detroit. He threw for like 386 against the Rams, just couldn't get into the end zone. It's going to be interesting to see if he's able to do that against Detroit. I think that he'll be able to. Kamara obviously can swing this matchup big time for squad underestimated, and we'll see if that stimulus package from Dearly Departed can actually help them out. But we're going to basically find that out very, very soon. Now, the one thing that I think Squad has working for them is that Miami coach and Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle is becoming one of those guys that I'm really, really liking the future and potential of. I'm going to say that he keeps it closer than you got it, but United play a sneak by. I've got Squad underestimated, losing this matchup, but making it really close, and UP sneaking by 130 to the United play is getting 132. I think that they get by, but just barely on a squeaker's chance. And obviously that would mean that the United players would advance to play Patty's Twins in the PPL playoffs. Setting up the next matchup to play the Argonauts. So we're going to go on into that next matchup. And in that next matchup, we've got last year's Pantheon Cup finalists only for the Boss, going up a 3-time Pantheon Cup finalist of their own, Appease the Gods. The team that at the beginning of the season we thought was going to run away with the Omega Conference. Obviously, they fell back to earth, but not too far back to earth, as they have sitting at the lofty heights of the 4 seed, meaning that they would have made the PPL playoffs regardless. I think that's always something, a little feather in the cap that ATG will take. Only for the Boss, obviously, one of the teams that we knew and we talked about earlier in the year would benefit from this expanded playoff field. Obviously, they do, coming in as the 5 seed. What do you think of this one? Only for the Boss, bringing in Patrick Mahomes, going up against Lamar Jackson and Appease the Gods.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this season hasn't gone as planned for Only for the Boss.
Okay.
But I think absolutely to the point that was made, you know, it's the new format fits this team because, again, they have a huge scoring ceiling that I think, especially in this playoff format, allows them to potentially catch guys that could stack. You know, this team could really go toe to toe with anybody any given week. It's hard to beat the Argos when you have to play them once.
Right.
You're only 2 weeks back to back.
And they did it.
Both of those going. I mean, again, that's really challenging, and they did it right.
Yeah.
So I think that this just really sets up favorably, and really, I like most of their matchups. I mean, again, I mentioned it whenever we were talking about the Chiefs-Chargers matchup. I mean, you're talking the Chiefs, you're talking Only for the Boss.
Right.
I can tell you that this team is going to try to really get this the loss off. Again, this team is much better than they were as a unit. Their defense is playing a little bit better.
Right.
You know, the Elijah Mitchell trade, he's come in and been useful. You know, Rashad Penny with Carson, you know, basically an IR. He's probably got off the team. Rashad Penny may be
he was huge last week for the Boss.
Well, exactly, and he may be the number 1 RB going into next season. This guy may be into keeper status, given how he factors into that offense.
Great pickup.
Yeah, again, great pickup. We've seen what Stephon can do. Justin Jefferson, again, against the Chicago Bears on Monday night. That should be a matchup where he could potentially.
That Monday night's going to be interesting for this matchup, man.
Yeah, well, see, here I'm looking down the lineup is where I've got questions. You know, he hasn't said his D. I think that, you know, he's got 2 really good viable D options with the Dolphins and the Niners. I don't think Dolphins are playing the Jets. The Niners are playing Atlanta. I think both teams can and should play good defense. What I don't like is his coach. With so many coach picks available to him, see this Seahawks team on the road against the team that.
I mean, I'm thinking he switches that, don't you?
What's that?
I think he switches that, don't you?
I mean, I'd be surprised if he doesn't. I can say of any position that I'm looking at and how I'm looking at an empty D slot, that one worries me the most as again, a negative potential.
Okay.
I mean, I would go no coach over Seahawks coach if I'm being transparent with this team.
Okay.
That being said, Appease the Gods has problems of their own.
Okay.
I mean, Lamar Jackson, again, this was early MVP candidate. You could not have dissuaded me that he was not going to be the MVP.
No, you were feeling it, man.
Yeah, the back half of the season just hasn't been there. I mean, this guy, defenses seem to have gotten a scheme on him. Again, last week he left early for an injury. We're not exactly sure. He hasn't practiced this week.
Right.
ATG has Tua, who has a favorable matchup with the Jets. But, I mean, anytime you've got question marks at the quarterback position, you've got to be a little uneasy.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon, I think, should have a relatively good day. It doesn't matter who he's lined up against. He's been able to produce. David Montgomery, I think, is a guy that if ATG is going to make a run late in the season, I mean, he's going to need David Montgomery, and I mean, he was a huge factor the last few weeks. I anticipate he will. You know, when I look at Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, these guys have been great but inconsistent.
Right.
And you know, Mike Evans, that's been the story with the guys for the last several years. Tyler Lockett, you know, acquired in a trade last season.
Right. They go as ATG goes as a team, really.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And, you know, Mark Andrews has really shown to be a great target. Doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. He's a fixture in Baltimore, and this guy will be kept. You know, Saquon actually did some stuff last week. Again, question marks if he'll be on this team next year. You know, an area, though, you know, ATG's got a quality defense here against a Giants team that
Dallas was huge last week for him.
Yeah, huge. And Giants are not much better. And they've got a lot of question marks, especially at the quarterback position.
Right.
I expect a very turnover-prone Dallas defense to take advantage there. And I like the Cardinals coach. I mean, at Detroit, a team that, you know, barely
yeah, it should be a big win for them, especially after that loss. They should be refocused.
They should be fired up, exactly. And this is a get-right week for the Cardinals.
Okay.
So when I look on the other side, you know, this one comes down to what I'll say has been the nemesis for ATG. Call me superstitious. This guy just doesn't get good Thursday night results. However, you're looking at the other side. I think Kansas City balls out, and I really think that they really put ATG in a position where he needs to produce. With the current question marks right now, I think Only for the Boss sets up a rematch of last year's playoff final and gets a rematch against the Argo. I got Only for the Boss winning this matchup.
Okay.
127 to appease the gods 123.
I'm going the other way, man. When I look at this matchup, this one is the one that I think is going to be the upset, and I think it's because even though I think the Chiefs, that game's going to be high scoring, it's going to be high scoring for all kinds of crazy reasons. They found their running game the last couple of weeks, and they've really kind of put Patrick Mahomes on the back burner because the ball's not coming out the way it was over years past, and they've become a little bit more conservative on offense, and they're letting their defense play a little bit more, which has been a benefit for their team. They looked awesome against the Raiders. Unless the Chargers can really lure Patrick Mahomes into a shootout, I think that the Chiefs can find a different way to actually even win that game. Where Only for the Boss, I think, is going to get their lion's share of their points is going to be from their receiving core with Debo, Jefferson, and Stephon Diggs. Not even talking about Chiefs guys. Their two Niner guys are actually the guys who I think that can really help them keep this matchup really competitive. Elijah Mitchell, when healthy, is a beast. Debo Samuel is a receiver and a running back. And I think that they'll probably get a defense in there and be fine. I like the Rashad Penny pickup. There's a lot of reasons to like Only for the Boss. But I like Joe Mixon, man. I really like what he's done this season, and I think that he's going to have a big game against the Denver Broncos. ATG is going to need a check for Justin Jefferson on Monday night, and he's got one with David Montgomery. The Minnesota Vikings, while they're known for they're pretty good on their run defense, their pass defense is horrible. And I think it's going to set up opportunities for David Montgomery to get some short touchdown runs. I'm looking at Tyler Lockett against the Rams. They had some COVID issues, and I think Russ is getting back into his groove, and Tyler Lockett is still the guy that he trusts most in that offense. Mark Andrews and Lamar, they're going to be lured into having to score a lot of points. You saw Green Bay put up 45 against the Chicago Bears. I think that they can put up a lot of points against that Ravens team also, and that was going to spur ATG on. Lamar is going to have to bounce back. And I'm also hearing things out of ATG's camp that they might even go in a different direction with Tua, who has a great matchup with the Jets. So I think either way at quarterback, they could be all right. But it's going to be tough for them, I think, to bench Lamar. Dallas's defense last week was killer. I mean, they had sack, fumbles, interceptions, everything, touchdowns. And I think against the Giants, that's continuing. I think that they're also changing the way they play ball. Saquon Barkley is obviously going to have to wake up for that Dallas defense to be threatened. If that happens, that also works in ATG's favor. And I think this matchup works in ATG's favor. And I think that finally sets up a playoff matchup between the Argonauts and ATG. Both of these teams are original 5 teams, and this is the only 2 teams that have never played each other in the PPL playoffs. So I think that opens up that matchup, and I think that ATG gets by 122 to only for the bosses 120. Only for the bosses 115. Alrighty, PPLers, thanks for another great week of PPL Live. It's been fun. Obviously, Wild Card Weekend is going to get underway tomorrow with the Chargers and the Chiefs. Only for the boss, seeing if they can jump out to the lead. And obviously, we go over to the Sunday night game. United play as the Destroyers can get their thing going with their triumvirate of Bucks and the Bucks defense and eliminate Squad Underestimated. And then we'll close out on Monday night, seeing if Only for the Boss and Justin Jefferson can appease the gods the last blow, or if David Montgomery can wrestle the victory from the jaws of defeat for ATG. You guys have a fun football weekend.